Welcome to StartUp Spokane, where hosts Steve Traben and Megan Halsey explore the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. StartUp Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's StartUp Spokane, our friends at Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Megan.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Media, your podcast home for everything entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. As you know, Startup Spokane is a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated. And whether you have an idea, you've launched, or you're trying to grow your business, we want to provide you, the entrepreneur, with resources that you need so that you can be successful. So with that, Megan Halsey, my co-anchor, so to speak. Let's get this conversation started.
Yeah, today we have as our guest Joe Galatly. He is one of the co-founders of Medcurity, which is a local startup. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about what Medcurity is and what you do?
Absolutely. So I had the opportunity to work in healthcare for many years at this point. I worked for a healthcare IT firm here in Spokane for about 10 years. And in that time, I worked on a team led by Amanda Hepper, and Amanda was building out this group to support physicians from a technology standpoint. So I got to be a part of a team we were building interfaces, we were training providers and their staff, and we were rolling out electronic health record systems. And so that opportunity to get involved in healthcare from that aspect was tremendous for me. Layering on some other projects I did there, and I've had an opportunity to be on the board of Chaz Health and to review grants for CMS. And so took all that experience, and a couple of years ago I started Medibeat, which is a consulting firm in town. Mm-hmm. We work with hospitals and clinics on strategic guidance and around technology, but also around policy and many other aspects of that. And about just over a year ago, I had a blacklight bunko party at my house, which Amanda and her husband came to, and we started talking, and she ended up joining Medibeat just almost a year ago, and within 3 months we launched Medcurity that you mentioned.
Yeah. Great, and I think why don't you give kind of a description of what Medcurity and Medibeat do specifically, because you're
Absolutely.
Kind of addressing a problem, right?
Yes,
and a need.
Absolutely. Medibeat is it's really focused on what is timely in healthcare. So healthcare isn't the easiest thing to jump into and start a business, which I think as an entrepreneur, you might look at that, or a developer. A lot of smart people look at healthcare and say, well, there's a lot of problems here. Let's jump in and see what we can solve. And then you get in there and the administrative burden and the legislative headaches in there. And there's a lot of complications in how the money moves, and the incentives are very interesting in healthcare. And it's tempting to say, I'm out. I'm going to go build a dating app instead, or whatever, right? So, but if you stick with it, there's some altruistic reasons to be in there, because you can solve some problems that really help the care providers focus back on patient outcomes and help the staff focus on sustaining independent practices, everything else we've got to worry about. So with Medibeat, we come in and we help them translate what the government's rolling out and saying, you've got to be at this level of technology. You've got to track your patients in these ways, focus on these type of quality measures. And so helping especially rural hospitals and clinics that don't have a large team, it's a few people wearing a lot of hats, come in and help them translate what is usually thousands of pages of legislation into what they need to do in their day-to-day life. And then Medcurity. So Medcurity came out of being in these groups and helping them with HIPAA, which I can define HIPAA real quickly.
That'd be great. I think you should.
So all of us get that form from the provider that we sign. So we've seen the acronym, right? Mm-hmm. But once that form's signed and handed to your care provider, there's a lot of responsibility on that group to protect your patient health information, right, as you'd expect. But it's a heavy lift for these groups. There's legislation that is not really clearly brought down to how they use it on a day-to-day basis. So they're trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing to be in compliance here with the HIPAA requirements. And so as we work with them to translate on a one-by-one basis, we found a lot of trends or themes in these conversations where they're struggling with the same type of thing. Everybody's struggling with figuring out what they're supposed to do to be building their compliance department, to be building their policy programs, to protect their organization from the fines that could happen, from inadvertently exposing patient information, which can result in a lot of penalties and some embarrassment. There's a lot that goes into that, right? So it's a hot topic. And as we saw that this is a theme everywhere we were going, we started talking about how do we address this in a way that we can scale this across the country and really help in something that is consistently challenging for healthcare organizations nationally. And that was the genesis of looking at Medcurity.
Great. So what was the biggest challenge in finding a way to move what you're doing, a lot of what you're doing in the consulting, into a replicatable, scalable application?
So that's a great question. We took from those conversations and we did a lot of work into the intelligence, which is essentially like a consultant in a box, right? So any questions or guidance that we want to put into software, we want to make sure that you can expand out and get a good definition and explanation and examples of how you might meet this
So it's
requirement.
like a tutorial, so people can walk through this process and have guidance on their phone, their tablet, their computer, so that they know that they're answering with the right information? Is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, so to be more clear on Medcurity, to start with, we did a minimum viable product and what we focused on was a risk assessment progressive web app. So the risk assessment, everybody's required to do this. This sees patients that do patient care. And so it's on a regular basis. You go through and say, where am I in compliance? Where am I falling short? What do I need to work on next? And that was consistently addressed. If it's addressed at all, it's consistently addressed in spreadsheets, whether you hire expensive consultants or you Google it and you find a form. So we took that risk assessment, those questions you need to go through, which is a several hours or a couple day process. And we started with that. And that's, like you said, a tutorial. So not just are you encrypting your laptops or are you protecting data in motion, but these are ways you would start with a laptop encryption, and here's how you might approach it, and here's some recommendations if you're not doing it.
Yeah.
So,
And Joe, these healthcare providers, they're required to go through this compliance not just once, right? I mean, it's an annual exercise that they have to go through it. Is that correct? So
Yes.
This is a recurring opportunity for a solution and a solution that Medcurity provides in
absolutely.
your business model.
It's a journey for them. It's a very high bar, and if you think about a single dentist practice has the same requirements as a major hospital system. And so they're working on improving, and of course threats change and evolve. So you do this risk assessment, but you also want to document the steps you're taking through that year to level up your HIPAA compliance game.
Right.
And you want to look again next year, and we're required to look again and to say, okay, now where are we? Now where are our weak points? Stratify it by risk. Say, here's what we need to focus on for this year.
And I'm going to simplify this for our viewers and listeners. I have this analogy. This is like TurboTax, right? Which takes each of us that use it through filing our taxes and through kind of a series of forms and questions and whatnot to collect information. I liken Medcurity's solution around HIPAA compliance to be like TurboTax, and I
like that analogy because HIPAA is as fun as taxes. You're absolutely right there. And if we can take it down like TurboTax has and said, look, think about this next, and here's how you fill it out. You got a question? Here's what it means.
Yeah, and the idea is that a healthcare provider or an organization can actually go through this tool on their own, right? I mean, they don't have to necessarily have consulting along with it. I mean, this is sort of you started providing this consultation with a manual process. Now you've provided an actual web-based tool for them to do it on their own.
Yes, if we did this right, which is what we're finding from our first clients, that they can go through this on their own and they can satisfactorily complete this and have it be a useful tool for them. We also still recommend, certainly as a best practice, if not this year, then next year, that third-party perspective is really valuable. So we are working with groups that conduct assessments today, and they're going to use Medcurity to conduct the assessments because you can let the clinic work in there to manage their items through the year. And as an assessor, you come back next year and they're more likely to have made improvement. And it makes your job as an assessor a little more efficient as well.
So you're actually creating a living document that people can update and manage as their processes change?
Yes. So once you've completed your risk assessment, all of your areas that you need to focus on or work in, you can document, you can assign to people on your team to work on, you can set priorities, and you keep a log of your work until you mark it complete. or you schedule it to next year. So it's a SaaS platform. So it's a software as a service platform that the clients can log into at any time during the year.
Yeah, and they subscribe to it. So just like TurboTax, I pay an annual fee for that tool. Similar here.
That's right.
Just probably greater value for those organizations. So let's talk, Joe. MediBeat as a consulting practice to Medcurity, the company, the tool. Where are you in the journey? What stage is Medcurity in today? You've launched.
Yeah, so we've launched last month, which we launched December 1st, and this is with our minimum viable approach. So sharing the vision is a full platform for compliance with HIPAA. The short term was, let's make the risk assessment process a little less painful, and let's start there. Let's solve the most painful part of this first. So we got funded, which I can talk more about, in July of last year. And then we worked closely with our development partner and had the MVP go live December 1st. We've had clients using it for the past few weeks. And so we're just right there at the initial launch, but we've gotten some great feedback already. Yeah. And it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Which is good, right? So that's validates yes. the methodology, the tool that you've put in place, the ease of use, all of those things.
Yeah, you're ready when you put it out there for anybody to say, I don't really love this, I don't like this part. We're ready to be responsive and to jump in, right? But it's actually been mostly everybody has been very, very positive, saying this makes it so much better, so much easier. I feel like I'm on task now, and I can wrap my mind around what we need to do next. And so the feedback's been great. We've had a couple specific, can you format this differently? Can you change this? Which we've done right away. So, which is what you want. We want people talking to us about anything they'd like to see us improve on.
What's interesting is I think that it kind of helps hospitals, medical providers have a document that they can actually go to and change and becomes a part of their process, as opposed to something they do once a year, forget about, and then realize, oh no, we have to do that thing again. Did we do any of those things we were supposed to do? So it creates an constant reminder for accountability and improvement, which I think is better for all of us as potential patients too.
It's better for us. It's better for the group. We've seen specifically the federal government will assess fines even if you've done your risk assessment, but you've taken no action.
Yeah,
they won't believe you're working on it.
And I think another real value add is you're watching the legislation and the regulatory side, and so you're going to be making adjustments as the federal rules and whatnot changes. We're having a great conversation, Joe. Thanks for being part of this. We hope you'll stay with us here on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Media as we continue our conversation with Joe Galatly with Medcurity. Stay with us.
Is your child having trouble coping with a personal disability, but don't know where to go? Consider our friends at Breakthrough Incorporated. Breakthrough takes great pride in mentoring their DDA clients who have intellectual disabilities and their BRS clients who have challenging behaviors toward the creation of safe, appropriate, ethically sound life goals. They integrate programs at school and home to enrich their lives. They work hard to make a positive difference in you and your family's lives. Breakthrough provides a highly structured, fully staffed residential setting in local neighborhoods. 6 in Spokane and 2 in the Tri-Cities. Diagnoses affect people differently, so their service to each resident is unique, giving them the opportunity to grow and evolve. For more information on Breakthrough, visit their website at breakthroughincorporated.org.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome to Tom Sawyer Country Coffee.
Tom Sawyer Country Coffee only roasts the finest organic coffee for our signature blends. Enjoy a cup at our coffee shop and local businesses and organizations across the region.
I'm Tom Sawyer and we choose the Pacific Northwest.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Media. We're having a great conversation with Joe Galatly, co-founder of Medcurity. And Joe, I think the first part of this program we spent great got a great foundation for what your business is and what you're solving. Let's talk more about the journey of support, the ecosystem, as we call it here in Spokane, and how you and Amanda have leveraged the resources in our community to help you along the way.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I had actually had the opportunity to be a member of the StartUp Spokane co-working place in years past in a couple little side project ventures, and really appreciated that environment and the support and enjoyed it. So with the consulting business, we became members again, and we're using that co-working space. And that was already valuable and great interactions and introductions, which are immensely appreciated. But in working there, we learned about, probably largely from you, Megan, learned about the Mind Market funding. And so it was a number of concurrent events where we were looking at this, the HIPAA problem and discussing the weight of this and how, wow, this is the thing that we've seen people cry about in their practices. Like this is a hard issue right now. We looked at the consulting business and the lack of annuity, right? So you're always selling your next hour. You're only, you can do as much as you can do in a day, right? So having that discussion, learning about Mind to Market and the potential for that to help us jumpstart a software solution for what we had identified as a problem in our industry. And so we would not have gotten this off the ground nearly as quickly, maybe bootstrap, maybe over time, and maybe still I'd be talking to you about this idea that we have. But Mind to Market, learning about that got us to work on toward a pitch, toward getting in front of you.
And getting some initial funding. And I think just as a reminder, we think that all of our listeners and viewers know everything about Mind to Market, but we're really filling a need, that early stage capital that people need to create a minimum viable product, something that you can use to start getting customer traction. So Mind to Market in cases are investing between $20,000 and $50,000 into these startups, people with great ideas like you and Amanda. And you used your Mind to Market funding to do just that, right? I mean, you hired a contracting organization or a contractor, a software contractor, and had them build out your website.
Yes. So that funding was fully used for the development of the website, and maybe some legal fees, a couple minor things like that. But it was vital to us being where we are today.
Well, it got you to the point where now you have launched.
Yes.
You have talk about how many customers. Maybe you don't name names, but how many customers do you have?
Yeah, since we went live last month, we have 22 locations using Medcurity already, and we've had one of them is a group owned by the largest nonprofit health system in the country, and then we have neighborhood clinics. We have a hospice in Maryland that found us on Google. We have just barely getting started and getting the word out. We've had adoption. Had this opportunity to learn, like I mentioned, some of that feedback we're getting, and all of that is by putting this out there very quickly. That was about a 5-month from funding to launch window.
And how are customers relating to you, or when they're reporting back to you having used the product, what is their consensus? What are the things they think they want to see improved, or are they telling you just that they appreciate the tool? What's going on? What are you hearing?
So it depends somewhat on experience. So those that are very new to conducting this are saying, thank goodness I was able to do it. I had no idea what to do. I tried other things, and now I wrap my mind around it. We're on track now. Compliance managers that have a lot of expertise, a couple of those have given feedback that is fantastic, because they say things that we're still, we'll figure out how to demonstrate well in the software, but they tell us what they want to survive audits. They say, okay, you gave us everything. Can you color code this section? We usually would want to see it like this. No problem, we can do that. So some really granular feedback is coming through from experts, which we love. Right. And if we try to guess everything and hold this for 2 years in development, we would miss this. And so to have it out there, we check the boxes. It's all is it what you need to do? But the additional things we're building in are from feedback.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that's the customer feedback. But I also think you've been surrounded by other people in the ecosystem. And so what kind of roles have people played as mentors or subject matter experts or advisors to you and Amanda in Medcurity?
So I'm not the only one to say this. Spokane has it's the ecosystem, a wonderful environment of people that will take time to grab coffee or a beer with you. And I don't take that for granted. That has been tremendous. So we've had just fantastic guidance from the investing side. We had at StartUp Spokane, there are office hours, people that come in and spend time in that environment to answer questions. And so we had great CPA guidance. We had found our legal connections through that. We've had, since the Mind to Market funding, time with Mind to Market with you, Steve, and Megan's connected us to anybody that we've needed to have in the industry, right? So we've found that within Spokane, we could get answers to all these questions we had from a business standpoint, from new potential clients to developers.
Right. And so you've got this launch, and now it's scaling time, right? And so there's, I know you and Amanda are on track to potentially raise more money. You want to talk a little bit about what's next for you?
Absolutely.
Just kind of give people a sense of what the map looks like for your journey.
Thank you. Yeah, so we want to keep the speed up. And so we've got this risk assessment. We want to put in here some policies and procedure, a management system to help them with contracts that clinics and hospitals have to manage, to help them with the training around HIPAA that they're supposed to provide their employees. These are all coming out. We planned on it, and our customers are saying this would be really great to have next. So we want to build that quickly because 700,000 healthcare organizations have to comply with this, and then they have 2 million vendors and associates that inherit the same requirements. And we want to quickly build out a platform to help as many of them as possible. And so part of that need for speed has us looking at that funding, right? So we do intend to raise a seed round, and we have an opportunity to present to the Spokane Angels Alliance here shortly, and we've had some great meetings and guidance again from people here in this community. So we will be pursuing a seed round to allow us to quickly ramp up that development and then take the marketing as well to need.
Yeah, and this might be a little bit of into the weeds, but I mean, you had a third party organization create your website, and part of the seed round is for you to bring it in-house, correct?
Eventually, yes, absolutely. That is part of the seed round. They've been a fantastic partner. So our next level of development, we will continue with them. But then it's responsible of us to bring in that type of development expertise while they're still working. So there's some shadowing and a nice warm handoff at the right time.
Right.
But that's the intention. It's probably not in the next couple of months as we build more into it, but that's the direction we're headed in.
And one more question, and then Megan, you can take some too. What does the customer service side of your business look like? I mean, as you scale this and you have 700,000, I mean, you've got a market potential of 700,000. So I'm back to the TurboTax, right? All of a sudden, man, I just do not know how to. I'm stumped by something. Right. What does customer service look like for an organization like Medcurity?
Yeah. Great question. So we have support build out in our plan for this year. So that's one of the early hires. It won't just be sales and developers. It will absolutely be a support department as well. We found, even though the questions are very clear, they can think of other things, of course, right? So the customers have had questions we didn't really see coming, and it's great. Right now, I'm the support and Amanda's the support, and we take those emails and those calls, and that's been really good for us, of course, to learn from that. But we want to make sure that we have somebody available to them to answer any questions that come up.
And you guys have been running at basically warp speed. To have an idea roughly 1 year ago today and actually be already onto seed round with your prototype MVP out in the market, that's pretty amazing. But what were the hardest things you had to learn or overcome in order to be this far, this fast?
So as we proceed with the seed round, that's definitely, I haven't had to raise money in those ways before. So that's been a critical, maybe not something that it's been a place where we want to pause. We want to make sure we truly understand it before we make decisions. So having guidance around that has been really, really important to us, to not rush into a structure that wouldn't be the right thing for the future of the company, right? So to try to pause in the areas that we aren't as confident and make sure we completely understand and have really good resources around us for that has been really important to us.
That's good. So, and is there anything that was just unusually difficult or something that surprised you?
So it's a great question. We haven't hit major roadblocks yet, and I think some of that comes from having already done this in person so much. With the software, bringing the software in, we're basically doing what we've already been doing for a couple of years. And so that wasn't the customers. We knew what to expect from what they needed, what they wanted. and to build that and provide that to them has gone really well.
Yeah, and
That's
while
great.
they've been working at warp speed, I just commend you for taking such a methodical approach to it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you have really, you've been very diligent about your steps.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think you guys, the reason why you haven't had so many challenges is probably because you've crossed every T and dotted every I. In the process, you didn't get ahead of yourself. You tested and retested, right? You got a lot of feedback. You've scaled on your launch. You've started slow, but now it's open and ready to go. I just think it's a great story for Medcurity. It's a great story for our community, our region, and all that we have to offer for people like Joe and Amanda who have an idea. They've turned an idea into a product and a service, and they've launched, and they're having great success. So, Joe, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Medcurity, medcurity.com if folks are interested in checking you out. And hope you'll join us next time on Startup Spokane, on Spokane Talks Media, where we'll host more information, more spotlights on entrepreneurs and resources to help you be successful in your entrepreneurial journey. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane, Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.